Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place where we unpack complex source material, try and figure it out, and pull out the really important stuff for you. Today, we're diving into some pretty intense material. It's excerpts from a document called Civilian Slaughter.
Yeah, it's drops you straight into this place called the Zone. Imagine Europe, just after a war, a really fragile truce just declared. And our goal here is to sort of walk through the events, the moral questions, the human cost, all described in these pages. We're treating them almost like historical accounts.
Right.
Look at the characters, their actions. Some are really chilling, and the politics behind it all.
And it's fascinating how it mixes the big picture stuff, like, military gear, chieftain tanks, 120 millimeter cannons, with the really personal, gritty human drama right down in the trenches. So yeah, get ready. This one might make you rethink some things about war. And peace, too.
Definitely. So the Zone itself, it's grim. You have to picture a landscape just shattered. Bomb craters everywhere, land poisoned by chemicals, defoliants. There's this constant dust and smoke hanging in the air. Just signs of destruction absolutely everywhere. They even describe T-84 tanks, these big Soviet tanks sinking into chemical sludge.
Wow.
That really drives home how wrecked the environment is, The land itself is a casualty.
And in this messed up place, the idea of a war crime gets really slippery, doesn't it? Like, the document gives you the dictionary definition, a breach of the laws or customs of war. Okay, fine. But then bang, you get the view from the ground. This Sergeant Major Patrick Wilson, he just says the only crime in war is getting yourself killed.
Pretty blunt.
Yeah. And then Colonel Tarkovski, who we'll get into, he says, it is only a war crime if it is discovered. Chilling. There's a journalist character, Peter Manteuffel, who points out the hypocrisy. When we do it, it's an operational necessity. When they do it, it's a war crime.
Right, the classic double standard.
Exactly. And even a pacifist leaflet just cuts through it all. All war is crime. Really way. So right away, you've got this total clash of viewpoints. It sets a really complex stage, morally speaking.
It really does. It suggests the rules aren't just bent. They're, completely broken. Or maybe they never really applied here. Survival seems to trump everything, and crime just depends on who's looking and whether they have the power to enforce anything.
Which brings us neatly to Colonel Tarkovski. He sounds like the embodiment of that cynicism. His introduction, it's quite something. He's described as this drunk, ruthless KGB political officer, and he's talking about some military task, right? But there's a fly drowning in his vodka.
Yeah.
And he just drinks it. Doesn't even bother fishing the fly out.
It's such a small detail, but it tells you so much about him instantly, doesn't it?
His utter indifference, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes your skin crawl a bit. And the document mentions him near a tortured body, missing eyes, mouth filled with horrific details.
Yeah, it establishes his brutality immediately. And his unit, Disciplinary Battalion 717, they have a nickname, Beria's Sons.
Oof. That's a heavy reference. Beria, Stalin's secret police chief.
Exactly. And these soldiers, they're men who basically dodged execution themselves. They were reprieved, pulled from stockades, specifically to fill this unit. The text says they've committed every crime and every atrocity you can imagine, and if you're lucky, a lot that you can't.
So this isn't just a regular unit. It's almost purpose-built for dirty work, atrocities.
That seems to be the implication. Which connects to things NATO forces apparently found earlier. Remember Sergeant Hyde? He talks about finding this pit.
Right, the East German Battalion.
Yeah, the rotting remains, just slaughtered indiscriminately, mowed down and dumped like so many bags of garbage. So finding mass graves later, it feels like part of a pattern established by units like Tarkovsky's.
A grim foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift focus a bit. There's another unit, Major Revell's Special Combat Company. How do they fit in?
They're completely different, described as a ragtag outfit of misfits, almost like a private army. They kind of fend for themselves, scavenging equipment, capturing enemy gear, even liberating stuff from their own side's supply dumps.
Why? Are they just rebels?
Not exactly. It says HQ basically starves them of resources. They don't approve of these independent outfits. So Revell's company has to be self-sufficient just to survive and operate.
Okay, and their first job after the truce?
Get this. They're assigned as road menders.
Road menders, a combat company.
Yeah. And they have to escort a construction battalion. But these guys aren't engineers. They're Russian deserters. And deserters is putting it mildly. They're the sweepings of the camps. Criminals, murderers, black marketeers.
Yeah.
The works.
What a mess. And this is happening right after a truce is declared.
A very fragile truce. The document notes that previous ones failed fast, lasted about 6 days on average.
So nobody really trusts it'll hold.
Yeah.
This whole setup, the truce, these deserters, Revell's guys scrambling for parts, it sounds like utter desperation on all sides.
I think that's exactly right. It shows how exhausted everyone is. Because, yeah, NATO pushed Warpac back, but the text makes it clear NATO is also on the ropes.
No.
They're desperately short on spare parts, ammo. Their air power is decimated. The West German Air Force is barely functional.
So both sides are basically running on fumes.
Pretty much. The war's become unsustainable. So this truce, however shaky, is seen as vital. Anything to stop the bleeding, even if it involves, well, arrangements like escorting criminals disguised as construction workers.
Right. And into this shaky piece, Revell's men stumble onto something awful.
Yeah. They find what looks like an empty refugee camp, but the ground, it feels wrong. Springy, the text says.
Oh, no.
They start digging, and they find mass graves, civilians, men, women, and children, little hands reaching out from the dirt.
God, that's horrific. Just sickening.
It changes everything for them, obviously. But the official response, that's maybe even more disturbing in its own way.
How?
It's fast, very high level. A U.S. senator flies in, a British lieutenant general. The document notes his medals suggest more staff work than combat.
Ah, political general.
Seems like it. And a West German Green Party official described as deep pink. So a real mix, but clearly people with influence.
Okay, so they're taking it seriously. An investigation.
Not exactly. Their purpose becomes clear pretty quickly. It's a containment, a cover-up.
What? They found a mass grave.
Yep. And the official line is, serious health hazard.
You're kidding.
Nope. Orders come down, incinerate everything with thermite, no photos, no body count, destroy the evidence.
Oh, why? Revell asks, right, a mass grave, a war crime, carries the same meaning in any language.
He does, but he's basically told to shut up. The general is blunt. They need to keep the truce alive. Spectacular headlines about atrocities would shatter it. Public opinion would demand action, and the war would restart.
So bury the truth to keep a fragile peace.
That's the logic. Brutal pragmatism. And there's more. It turns out someone, this mysterious T-Corp...
Yeah, who are they?
The document doesn't say exactly, but they apparently have intelligence files, films of these graves, and they've offered this package to the Russians.
Offered it. As leverage.
Sort of. Presented as a gift, saying it would be shown at an upcoming conference of neutral nations. The implication is clear. NATO keeps quiet about the graves Tarkovski's unit likely dug.
Right.
And the Russians keep quiet about an earlier unauthorized raid Revell conducted against some engineers. A quid pro quo. Bury each other's crimes.
Wow. So justice just gets traded away.
Seems that way. Truth becomes a bargaining chip.
And Revell. He's supposed to accept this.
He's given direct orders. Keep his damn nose out of the matter. But he doesn't. He secretly sends out his own people, couriers, to gather evidence. Photos, video. A 3-hour tape.
He's defying direct orders from a general. That's risky.
Hugely risky. He's putting himself and his men way out on a limb, setting himself against the entire system, essentially.
Driven by what he found, I guess. The
Yeah.
children's bodies.
You have to assume so. Which leads to his next move. Retaliation. An unauthorized strike against Tarkovski's unit.
How does he even plan that? He's under scrutiny, surely.
The plan is incredibly audacious. Almost darkly comic if it weren't so grim. They get hold of some captured Soviet APCs, armored personnel carriers, and they paint them bright pink.
Pink? Why pink?
To disguise them as vehicles belonging to Frau Lily's mobile brothel.
A mobile? Wait, what?
Yeah, apparently a well-known traveling brothel operating in the zone. Her garishly painted vehicles are her trademark. Everyone knows them.
So they're using a brothel convoy as a Trojan horse.
Exactly. The ultimate disguise in that environment, apparently.
That's insane. And the attack itself.
It's brutal. The pink APCs roll right into the Russian camp. The soldiers there think it's Frau Lily arriving. They're cheering, waving, expecting girls.
Oh, God.
The document says they were galloping cheerfully to their own bloody execution.
Once the APCs are in the middle of the crowd, Revell's men open up. Grenades, automatic fire. It's a slaughter. At least 200 bodies littered the ground. Just wipe them out.
Pretty much. But during the raid, they find something else. Something that, in a way, justifies Revell's actions, at least in his mind.
What's that?
They find hundreds of women locked inside trucks at the farm, screaming. It looks like Tarkovski's unit was about to carry out another massacre.
So Revell's raid, however brutal, actually prevented another atrocity.
It seems so. It validates his decision, showing just how depraved Tarkovski's unit really was.
The aftermath must have been chaos.
Total chaos. They're trying to retreat. Mortars are falling. They have to load injured civilians they rescued onto the APC roofs. The description is visceral, the stench of bodies, blood everywhere. It's horrifying.
And the consequences for Revell. He can't possibly get away with this.
No, he doesn't. He and some of his key people are arrested, interrogated. The general is furious. Not because of the killing necessarily, but because it's causing problems, political problems.
It's always politics.
Always. The general complains about the strings he had to pull just to get ambulances for casualties because they couldn't risk a helicopter getting shot down and the story getting out. It's all about controlling the narrative.
And amidst all this, there's that moment with Clarence, the sniper.
Yeah, that's a really poignant, tragic part. Clarence lost his family earlier in the war. He finds one of the Russian executioners, a Rastrelnikov.
These are the guys who shoot retreating soldiers, right?
Or failed officers, yeah. Instant punishment. The Clarence just executes him. No words. And then he uses a thermite grenade on himself. His death is just this brief flare on a hillside, unnoticed by anyone else.
A final, quiet act of vengeance. And then nothing. Just awful.
It really underscores the personal cost, the individual tragedies buried within the bigger conflict. And politically, Revell finds out the Russians knew about his raid almost instantly. Satellites.
Of course. Surveillance is everywhere.
Yep. And the general confirms the deal that was made. Revell's evidence, the photos and video he gathered.
The stuff he risked everything for.
Yeah. That was basically offered back to the Russians as part of the bargain at the Neutral Nations Conference. The deal holds. If we forget those graves, they'll forget the raid.
So Revell's insubordination, his evidence, it achieved nothing in the end, except get traded away.
Politically, yes. It became just another chip in the game, but then comes the twist for Revell and his company.
What happens to them? Prison. Dishonorable discharge.
Nope. All charges dropped. They keep their ranks, keep their commands. They even get a week's leave outside the zone.
Seriously. After everything. How? Why?
The general spells it out. It's cynical calculation. They want some of Revell's men to desert during the leave. He basically says, what's left after you get back are going to be hurling from one hot spot to another.
So they're not being punished, they're being used up. Thrown into the meat grinder until none are left.
That's the strong implication. Keep the loyal, effective, but troublesome unit intact and let the zone consume them. It's a death sentence, just deferred.
That's bleak. What about the other characters? Do we know what happens to them?
We get glimpses. Captain Porter, the guy who wanted to be a journalist, he gets a medical discharge. Ends up with some minor newspaper job, totally disillusioned. He says he wouldn't recognize a scoop if it was staring him in the face. The truth got buried. And so did his ambition to report it.
A metaphor for the whole situation, really.
Absolutely. And Sergeant Hyde, with his disfigured face, he dreads peace. The war, the zone, it's all he knows. The scars aren't just physical. There's Dooley, chasing pleasure with one of Frau Lily's girls, a temporary escape, but he's still stuck. Andrea, the woman who helps in the raid, she just adapts, thrives in the chaos. And Grigori, the Russian defector, he just keeps surviving, playing the angles.
They're all marked by it, trapped in a way.
Exactly, which brings us back to that line. Even when you were dead, the zone still clung to you, keeping you an outcast, forcing you to remain a part of it. It's inescapable.
So we've been through quite a journey here with civilian slaughter. A deep dive into a world where morality is, well, flexible, to say the least, where politics trumps everything.
It's a really stark portrayal, isn't it, of the compromises made after war, how truth itself just becomes another casualty, something to be bargained away, that line about the zone clinging to you even in death. It really sticks. There's no clean escape.
It really does. And it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? What is the real price of peace if it costs you the truth, if it demands burying justice? And what does it do to the people like Revell, caught in the middle, forced to make these impossible choices in a world that basically pretends they don't exist? Something to definitely mull over.